Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to be talking about my LED lighting upgrade for my workshop. I've got 20 of these 4-foot lights. I got these from Costco. They're on sale during this Christmas season. It was like $60 for a 2-pack, and then there was a $20 rebate on that, so it came out to $40 for a 2-pack, or $20 each. And I checked with my local utility and they had a rebate for LED lights, and so these ended up being about $13 with shipping each. And I've got 20 of them here. Each one's about 37 lumens, 3,700 lumens. So I'll be sitting probably just under 80,000 lumens for the workshop. So before I start installing these, let's talk about the layout. They always say go with what you know, and I know SolidWorks, so this is what I'm using to do the layout for everything. I started with kind of a rough model of my garage. And you can see I've got the door coming into the actual house. I've got one garage door and the other garage door here. And I think overall I'm looking at like 34 feet for this long side and something like 26 feet for this edge. So it comes out to like 800 or 850 square feet in total. And here is the layout of everything. I've got my workbenches here. And you can see I've got like the garage door rails here, and then the garage door openers over here, and these right here are the actual lights. So I'm going to be doing 4 rows of 5 each, and I'm basically doing 2 on the single bay side and then 3 over on the double bay side. And so this is kind of the layout that I'm aiming for. And you can see here I just had these little 4-inch cubes. These are the receptacles that I'm going to be installing. So what I'm going to do is these receptacles will drop down from the ceiling and they will power this row here and then that row there. And at each receptacle I'm actually going to do like an RF switch and the outlet so I can control each row independently. So I'll have a total of 8 switches, so like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I can control each one of these banks completely independent. So that will be kind of nice to control the amount of lighting in the shop. And I'm not really using anything on this other side right now. Eventually I will, but my focus for right now is going to be on this side. That's where the Tormach is sitting, about right there. The lathe sits over here. I've got my laser over here. So this is where the majority of my machines are. Over here is just kind of storage for now. So this kind of gives you a general idea of the layout. And what I did is I modeled everything in SolidWorks, and everything you can kind of see over here is just these linear patterns and mirrors. So really everything is based off of this receptacle right here. And I can choose the spacing for this way and the spacing for the rows independently. And I kind of figured out the best way to go about this. If I undo this, kind of gave me a good idea of where the supports were in the ceiling so I could space out the electrical boxes so I wouldn't be hitting anything up top. So yeah, first step then after figuring this out is to get the outlets or the receptacles into the ceiling. Measuring the locations of the receptacles was a bit tricky because it's 10 feet up and of course it's the ceiling, so it's kind of difficult to get to. New projects are always a great excuse to buy new tools, so I got 2 new things. The first was one of these Bosch laser tape measures. I could set this against the ceiling, press the button, and measure pretty accurately against the wall, so then I can get an idea of how far out I was. So I want the receptacles to be in a line this way, so what I did is I measured against this back wall in a couple different points, basically like this, and then I got 3 little tick marks, and then I used this guy. This is a cobalt laser level thing, and it shines this nice line, so I used that to shine against the ceiling this way, and I lined it up with those 3 tick marks, and I got a nice straight line. Now of course I could have used like a chalk line, or I could have just put a piece of string on that side and put a piece of string on that side, but the laser's a lot easier because I can't always get to stuff in the corners, and just having this on a tripod to shine the light was much easier and really convenient. So I'm liking this thing so far, and this is pretty cool too. So now I have a line laid out, and I'm going to use my vibrating oscillator tool thing to cut 4 holes in the ceiling. I'm going to be using double gang boxes, and I'll kind of explain why, but I'm going to have 2 outlets in there. So I'm going to cut the holes for that, and then go up in the attic and drop the cables down, and then start installing the electrical. Installing the junction boxes and the receptacles went pretty much as expected. There's 2 things I hate. I hate heights and I hate wiring, so this was, you know, my all-time favorite project. But anyway, I got everything installed, and when I got to the last junction box, I turned off the breaker and turned off all the electricity to the switch that's attached to all my lights, and I actually unscrewed one of my light fixtures because that's what I was going to be tying into. Eventually, I'm going to take away the bulb base and just kind of put a flat plate over it, but for right now, I'm just tying into it. So I tied into that and then ran that to the last set of receptacles, and then put everything back, and I used one of those little circuit checkers to plug into all the outlets, make sure they all looked good, and yeah, everything was good, and now I have 4 junction boxes with 2 sets of receptacles each. Some of you might have noticed when I was installing these junction boxes in the ceiling that I was putting one receptacle in one way and the other receptacle upside down. And the reason behind that is these. These are little remote control outlets that I'm using, and as you can see, they take up quite a bit of room, and this is the reason why I'm using 2 receptacles, is because there's no way one would fit on the other side of it, or 2 would fit into 1. So I flipped it so I can fit 2 in like that. And as I said before, I'm doing 4 rows of 5, and I'm splitting the outlets in the middle. So this configuration allows me to control the 2 on that side and the 3 on this side separately. So with 8 of these, I get to control all the rows on either side independently. And that's going to be pretty cool. These are sold in 5-packs. I end up getting 2 5-packs of these. I have the link down in the description below. And each of the 5-packs comes with 2 remotes, and they're custom coded to each one of the devices. So like this is a 310, this is a 304, and if we pull one of these out, we can see that this is a 310-4. So this corresponds with this remote and will be controlled with a 4th bank. The cool thing is you can reprogram these so they would work with any of these remotes. And these guys are 433 megahertz, so they work, you know, not line of sight. You can operate these from pretty far away, and they're pretty cool. So I like this little addition. So now that that's all done, let's go install the lights. Overall, mounting the lights went a little bit quicker than expected. The first thing I needed to do was install the first light itself. I installed that closest to my workbench against the wall, and I used this laser level once again to give me a line that would be the row for the length of the garage. Once I got that laser line against the ceiling, it was just a matter of mounting it in the right place, making sure it looked good. Of course, all garages, you know, are not going to be perfectly square, so I really didn't want to square everything up with the outside wall. I kind of wanted to square it up with what looked right in the room, and then once it was squared, then I screwed everything in. The lights themselves have keyhole mounting on the back, but the spacing is kind of weird. It's not really any even number. It was kind of a weird random number. So what I did is I decided to use anchors directly into the ceiling. These are those little screw-in anchors that you kind of push into the drywall, screw in, and then you put a screw into them. And the reason I used those is because I had a big box of them. So the next step was to get holes into the actual fixtures themselves. So I just measured the center line of the fixture 3 inches in, drilled 2 holes, and then I could drill straight through that into the ceiling or mark that into the ceiling, put in an anchor, screw in one side of the fixture, and then push the other side up. With the laser level, I could align it so that hole was right in the dead center of the laser, mark that, slide it away, put in an anchor, and then screw that in. And that process actually was pretty easy. So I'd bring it over to this workbench, I'd put the 2 holes in it, I'd go up into the ceiling, put the first anchor in, put the first side in, then put the second side in, mark it, swing it away, put the anchor in, swing it back, install it. And instead of measuring everything, I use this series of these little I don't know, wood bars that I made. This was an idea that my wife had, and it turned out to be a really big time saver. So this right here is the spacing in between each light in the row, and this corresponds to the end of the light to the next anchor. So all I did is I put this up on the ceiling, put a hash mark at the end of it, and where it intersected with the laser line, that's where I needed to put an anchor. So I would just kind of butt this up with the previous one, make a line, put the anchor in, then take the light, screw it in place, mount the, mark where the hole was, put the anchor in, and that was it. And I have a lot of these. This one is the distance from the outlet to that side of the garage. So when I started a new row on that side, I would use this. This one is the spacer for the outlet to this side of the garage. And I have a bigger one that wouldn't fit in the frame here, but that is the distance in between each row. So once I got a row done, I would take that long spacer, push it against the previous row, mark the end of it this way. I would do that in the front and the back, then use this guy again to project a line down the length of the garage, and then grab this, mark the distance off from the outlet, put the first hole, put the first anchor, and then just start doing the lights from there. So it was a little bit of a process. It took me several hours, and I didn't film the whole thing because it was really boring, and moving the camera and the ladders around was kind of tricky. But overall, after a couple hours, it worked out really well. They look relatively straight, and everything seems to work out. There are two main reasons for doing this lighting upgrade. The first is, of course, so I can see what I'm doing better, but secondly, it's to get better video. When it comes to video and photography, the more lighting, the better, always. And this is what I'm using right now. This is, when I first moved into the house, there's 3 bulb receptacle sockets up in the ceiling, and I went and bought these things, which are kind of a 5-to-1 adapter. From one bulb socket, you can get 5 bulbs in here, and these are really cheap on Amazon. And I ended up getting these compact fluorescent Philips bulbs. They were the brightest thing I could find within reason. I think they're like 1200 lumens, so in theory I'm getting about 6,000 lumens from one of these sockets, and I've got 3 of them in the garage, so I'm about 18,000 lumens, something like that. The shop lights I installed are 3,700 lumens, so that means for the whole shop with 20 of them, I'm looking somewhere around like I think 75,000 lumens, so you can tell the difference between 18,000 and 75,000 should be quite a bit. So far in this video, I'm just filming with these. Well, not filming with this one because it's in my hand, but I've got the 2 others active right now, and all the other shop lights are off. So what I want to do is I want to switch over to manual on the camera and get a baseline level with the new lights, then switch back over to these and show you just how different the lighting is. And I haven't done this yet, so this is going to be very interesting for me to see. I've done no filming whatsoever with the new lights, so let's see what the new lights can do. Here it is. You might have noticed that the shot changed a little bit on 2 things. I changed lenses on the camera. I'll be using same lenses for both shots here. And also, this is raw output from the camera. There's no color grading, no editing, no filters, nothing on this. So I want to do raw footage of both because a lot of the filters I have on there will boost and kind of even everything out. So this is what it looks like with all the lights on. I'm in the kind of, corner of the shop, so there's even light throughout everything, and if you kind of look behind me, you can see that there's pretty even lighting everywhere. So far it looks pretty good. Might need a little adjustment here, but let's switch over to the old lights. Here are my old lights. Everything else has remained exactly the same. Same camera, same lens, same settings. All I did was basically hit stop on the last footage, turn off the lights, put in the other lights, and hit record. So you can tell it's a much, much, much darker shot. And this really is what the shop normally looks like. I've just done a lot of adjusting in the camera to make it look a lot brighter. You can see a dark spot over there looking into the corners of the shop. There's shadows and dark spots everywhere. So yeah, this is a huge improvement, and there's a lot more light available, so I'm pretty happy with that. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this project. It will definitely help out making videos for the projects out here in the shop. One of the things that you might have noticed with my videos is I really only had like 1 or 2 different angles that I'd use. I'd use this table, which is actually movable, it's on casters, and a couple on the other workbench. But really, I was only showing a couple different shots in the shop because I had a ton of shadows, and those were really the only places where there was decent lighting. So this will open it up to allowing to shoot in multiple different areas of the shop for better lighting. So that'll be kind of cool. I got a couple things to clean up on this. In between each one of the lights, the cord is still just kind of dangling in between each one of the lights, so I need to clean that up a little bit. And I bought some of this cable track from Home Depot, and it's slightly too small, or I gotta figure a better way to use it. So I gotta find a better solution for that, but I wanna clean up the wiring in between each one of the lights. And in addition, these remotes are really cool, but it's kind of cumbersome to turn everything on and turn everything off, because as soon as you hit off from the switch on the wall, all of the units go off and they just go back to an off state when you turn it back on. So they don't really remember where they were at. So that's a little bit annoying because the switch is actually tied into the mudroom light that I started filming this video in. So I don't really just want to leave the light switch on all the time because then the mudroom light would be on. So the switch really is for controlling this and that light at the same time. So I need to find out some better way to use these. And I think I have an idea, and it's going to be an upcoming project. I think I'm just going to integrate this with some type of Arduino and make some like control panel for out here that remembers presets, and I can make that actually remember things. So that might be pretty cool. But overall, pretty happy with it. I think the whole thing came out to about $350 with the laser level and the laser tape measure. So that's, yeah, pretty good. Definitely, if you are thinking about doing this, check with your local utilities to see if there's any rebates, because that was a good $200 savings on this project. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.